What's going on, guys? My name is Triforce Addiction. Welcome back to another COD mode video. So yesterday I did make a video on the patch notes for Season 8. Of course, some of them were specified, basically detailing exactly what changed. And there were other guns out there that weren't really detailed. The leakers were only able to get a few. But now they managed to get the entire patch notes completed. So now they have a 4-part stat set of pictures basically showing all the differences between how the weapons were in the past and how they are going to be now. So this time around I'm going to make the video a little bit shorter because obviously the last one was pretty long. It was like 16 minutes, but I'll try to keep it as short as possible so I won't waste too much of your guys' time. So here we are with part 1. It does have the HG40, the chopper, as well as the AK-47. So what they did with the HG40, let's see. They did increase the range by a little bit more by, I think it's like a 5 meter distance on the first one. And then on the second one, they increased it by 4. So yeah, the range is far better than it was before. Up to 20 meters, you're going to be able to consistently 4-shot no matter where you shoot on the body. They do say treat it like a Kilo 141 if it's in a mini form. Obviously, that can't be any further from the truth because it literally is the Kilo 141 in an SMG form. So now let's move on to the chopper. So they didn't really do much in terms of range. Of course, the damage is a lot higher now. It's like up to 30. But even then, after you go across those 16 meters, it's going to lower it down into a 5-shot kill. But the cool thing about it is that it doesn't lower it down any further. So no matter what, you're always going to land a 5-shot kill. Back then, it was actually a 6-shot if you went past 35 meters. Also, 3-shotting is now possible with the weapon so long as you hit 2 headshots within the 16 meters. So now to clear part 1, we do have the AK-47. So the chest and arms multiplier did get increased to 1.1 times. But from what I remember, it's actually on the lower arms. It was always 1.1 times on the chest and the upper arms. So it did slightly increase the 3-shot kill potential around the upper part of the body, so it could be a little easier now. So here we are now at part 2. We do have the LK24, the MX9, as well as the KRM-262. So with the LK24, they increased the headshot multiplier by 0.3 times. So now instead of it being 1.2 times, it's now 1.5 times, which does increase the headshot in the first range by, I believe, like 8. So that's a huge amount of damage. And it says increase to headshot damage allows LK24 to 4-shot up to 38 meters and 5-shot up to infinity with only 1 headshot. Massive reduction to flinch now makes range fights more reliable. For me, like, it doesn't matter because I always use toughness, so I didn't really notice the flinching. But for all of you guys that don't, that's going to be a really good thing. So as I predicted with the headshot multiplier, I knew that was going to be the only multiplier that was changed because this was one of the assault rifles that didn't really reward you that well for shooting in the head. So now you actually get a 3-shot potential for actually being accurate. So now we move on to the dreaded MX9. So this one is actually pretty interesting. It does say that increased damage profiles with more consistent 4 and 5-shot kills. MX9 has always had a place in the close range meta, but with the buffs, it's even more prominent, which is actually true. So within the first 2 ranges, if you are using large caliber, you're going to be able to 4-shot a little bit more consistently compared to just using the base mag where the 4-shot potential ends at the first range. And for me personally, I've always used large caliber because it's a pretty reliable choice. And keep in mind, you can now 3-shot in the second range if you land all 3 shots in the head, so that's another plus. So now we get onto the KRM. So I'm not really good at reading shotgun stats, but from what it says, the damage per pellet, it did get increased by a little bit. You know, the headshots up to 1 damage, and the rest of the body has been increased a little bit. And now it's actually a 25 damage on the second range, but the thing is that it's been increased slightly. So for the second range, it did get increased by 1 meter. And for the the third range, it did get buffed by another meter, which is pretty cool, I'll be honest. I'm not really sure how to feel about that because obviously when you're measuring meters from shotguns to like assault rifles, it's a completely different thing because shotguns, 1 meter could mean the whole world. But, you know, if you added 1 meter to like an assault rifle, it doesn't mean shit. Keep in mind, adding Marauder Suppressor and adding like some sort of extended light barrel could actually help the range a lot more. So from what it says, you could 1-shot more consistently within the second range, and it's going to extend more once you actually put those other range extending attachments. So let's actually start off with the Odin in part 3. So there's not really much to say. They did boost the range by like 4 meters, which is pretty good, especially if you don't want to use any sort of like some Colossus suppressor or even monolithic suppressor at that. 16 meters is good enough for a 2-shot kill, and even then, 1 shot to the head, it's still a 2-shot kill in the second range and even in the third range. Well, actually, you have to land 2 shots in the head in the third range. But anyways, the first range climbs to almost 22 meters with the Colossus suppressor. So if you guys want that extra range, obviously you could use those attachments, but again, I mean, the range is already long enough. I don't really think you need to use the Colossus suppressor anymore. So moving on to the Shecom, nothing really changed too much other than just the buff to the lower arms. It used to actually be part of the stomach multiplier, but now they got separated and now it's with the chest and arms. It did get increased to 1.3 times. It really just increases your 3-shot potential and just more damage in general. And that's a good thing, because if you're facing someone in a face-to-face gunfight, usually the character has their arms up. So there is a very high chance that you're going to hit in the lower arms. And I think that's what kind of messed up the 3-shot potential a little bit. So it's nice that they actually changed that. Just think about that for a second. When you're shooting close range, or if you're on a face-to-face gunfight and they have their gun pointed at you, obviously your aim's not always going to be perfect, but you're going to end up hitting like the wrist, or you're going to end up hitting the hand by mistake, and there goes your 3-shot potential. So now that's not going to happen anymore. So we move on to the Pharaoh, which is probably the most mysterious change, because we still don't really know how much they affected the recoil. They just gave us a general idea. So they did lower the range. It used to be 0 to 10 meters and 10 to 17 meters, but they reduced it a little bit from 0 to 8 meters to 8 to 13. So it's a significant decrease in range. But obviously, if they're going to improve the recoil, like I said, because this weapon has very strong damage. So if they kept that range with extremely good stability, it's going to be extremely overpowered. So they had to find a way to balance everything out. And I knew that this was something that they were going to do if they had ever thought of changing the Pharaoh. So fun fact about it, that I didn't even know it had randomized recoil. I thought it was always just left and right that it would jump. I didn't know it was always random. So they actually took that out and made it more controllable. So that's something I'm really grateful for, because I always wanted to use the Pharaoh because I felt bad for never using it, but I never had the chance to, because it's not worth using because of just how uncontrollable it is. And even if you have all the marksman barrels, the muzzle brakes, and even the strike stock, it slows down your gun so much to the point where you can't even move. So it's nice that they're finally making a change like this. So here we are on the final part. Let's talk about the QXR. So before I actually get into this, it's worth noting that the base section and the enhanced bolt section are actually mixed up. The base is actually supposed to be on the bottom, while enhanced bolt is supposed to be on the top. It didn't make sense to me at first. I did point it out, and they are going to fix it on the stats on duty page. But yeah, it didn't make sense, because enhanced bolt usually has less of less multipliers. So yes, base on bottom, enhanced bolt on the top. So like I said before, there were damage increases to the first and second range. Back then it used to be 19, now it's up to 21, making the 5-shot kill potential a lot more consistent. But it does now have better 4-shot kill potential as well, so long as you shoot on the head and the chest. Unfortunately, you can't say the same thing for the enhanced bolt. It's still at 23. It's a slight increase, but they did also increase the multiplier or I guess they increased the damage for the second range as well. So you're going to be able to 5-tap even in the second range, which is absolutely incredible, especially for the enhanced bolt. So it's basically an M13 without having to worry about bullet speed, even if the M13 even had bullet speed, let's be honest. But yeah, it's pocket M13. So now let's move on to the JAK 12. The reduction in damage hinders JAK 12's performance at medium range. So they did decrease the medium range by like 1 meter. Nothing really crazy, but they also decreased one of the multipliers on the lower body. So it's now at 0.9. So yeah, it's going to be a slight hindrance in terms of damage in those types of range, but maybe it won't be too bad, but hopefully I don't know. It's kind of weird with shotguns. I'm still kind of confused about it. But let me know if you guys think it's a huge change or not. So now let's move on to the swordfish. So this is actually pretty interesting. So the burst delay is reduced from 220 milliseconds to 200 milliseconds. Halberd mag rate of fire increased by 10% from 1,000 rounds per minute to 1,100 rounds per minute, as well as increasing the hipfire accuracy by 30%. So that's crazy. That only applies to multiplayer, by the way. It does not apply to Battle Royale. The whole point of this change was to make it less punishing if you somehow missed a few bullets within the burst. So it's a little more forgiving now, but it also plays into, I guess, the fire rate with the halberd mag. So that's something to keep in mind. Maybe it might be less punishing, but at the same time, with the fire rate like that, I mean, fuck, it's probably gonna be incredibly powerful. So this basically covers all the stats for the newly buffed weapons. Thanks to Stats on Duty for doing all the work. Probably would have taken forever if I ever like calculate all this stuff. I'm bad at math, guys. I'm sorry. But yeah, anyways, hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to leave a like. Make sure to subscribe for some more COD mode content. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. I'll see you guys later.